What's the plan?
Feel free to shift the mic, you know. The closer it is, the more ASMR it is. It seems people like that.
Okay, I don't really mind.
Up to
Okay,
you,
do you
dude.
want it? Do you want me to do it close?
The closer, so here's the issue, right? The technical side of it is, because this is like a pop-up sort of studio, I'm dealing with echo, and so, I mean, obviously we're not gonna start, making an ASMR thing, but the closer it is, the closer it is, the better.
Yeah,
But feel free, dude, move it around,
yeah.
Like keep it maybe a fist from your face.
Calm.
Should be good.
Yep, it's about a fist. It's looking good, man. It's looking good. Looking good.
And here we are.
We're rolling.
We are rolling, dude. Excuse all the tech stuff.
I have stage fright.
Do you have stage fright?
Yeah.
This is coming from the man. For those of you that are watching, I met for the first time doing his TEDx talk. I was the man behind the camera.
Oh damn, that's where we actually met.
You remember? Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
That was
bro.
actually the best talk on that round.
Thanks, man.
Because I remember there was another one. We were having trouble with this Gen Shame. We had to come back and do a full day for him. And we kept referring to Alunga. Alunga's session was so good.
Thanks, man.
And now I check you. I think I was exploring your Instagram, and you have it as a link in your bio.
Yeah, I put it
It's
there.
on like 10,000.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
That's dope.
But I think it's because of also my other podcast is driving traffic there as well. Because people get curious
For sure.
every now and like I remember one of the episodes that I did, I mentioned it at the beginning because I was trying to I was testing out the whole social proof thing. So I was just trying to stack social proof. Like I did a TED talk, this, that. I was taking Vusi Temba, I was taking all the celebrities' names, trying to leverage everything at the beginning of it, just as a test. So I'm sure someone was like, "Oh, TED talk," and then they go and they check, or even when you search my name, it probably comes up.
It does come up.
You see.
It does come up.
Yeah.
Big accomplishment, dude.
Thanks,
So I
brother.
don't know what stage fright you're talking about.
Dude,
Yeah, man.
I actually wanted to I wanted to explore some ideas. So just for later,
problem, dude.
when we get into the meat of the convo.
No, that's fine, dude. Free
yeah.
flow. It's free flow.
Yeah.
It's just when it comes to the names of certain companies, we need
Yeah,
to be careful.
I'm aware.
You know how it is.
I'm aware. I'm aware.
So,
I'm aware.
But man, feel free, dude. It's the whole idea behind before we started recording, I mentioned that it's more like therapy, just kind of talking. One of my gents says what was cool about one of the episodes he saw was how like it didn't have any specific thing it was trying to push. It was just like two gents talking.
Yeah.
And then we kind of find ourselves in some interesting chats from time to time.
Yeah.
All the time it's nonsense, but from time to time, find one or two interesting thoughts and I just kind of dig, and it's fun. It's fun to think.
The thing about interesting thoughts, bro, is they're in a lot of garbage. I'll be real. But like even if we're not creating ideas, the interesting thoughts will come out. Literally, dude. If you just follow what you find funny, some of the most life-changing things will come about. Some of the most life-changing interactions, some of the most life-changing ideas, like a whole business idea can come out of a joke.
That's actually right.
You guys are just shooting the shit and you're like, yo, dude, imagine like, dude, it would be so crazy. Imagine if like we
100%. 110%.
and then
So I can add to that. So on one of the things I'm trying to focus on, because it is a big part of what I want to do at the end of the day, is game design, the gaming industry. And a lot of it's a system, right? You're trying to build a system, but you have to make it fun now. That's the way I'm seeing it is that the difference between something like an application on your phone or a website or something like that and a game is that a game elicits some sort of emotional response. It makes it fun for you to actually partake in the system, to use its mechanics, And you sit there and you wonder what makes a fun mechanic. And oftentimes it's the most mundane thing that can actually become an interesting mechanic. Give you an example. Haven't played it yet, but I'd like to. One of these interesting games that have come out, it's called Papers, Please. And so you play the role of a border officer, right? And all you have to do is sit there and as people come up to your window, check their papers and see if they are eligible to go through the border.
if they're fraud or not.
Now the issue is it plays on your humanity, because now you see, oh, this is a mother trying to get to their child, or it's like this dude had his papers, but then something happened, and you see, and now now you start to, and things get a bit muddled along the way. But it comes from the simplest idea.
Does anyone pay a bribe?
I think that's
any
a mechanic.
monetary incentive? Because that should be something that's factored into the mechanics.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure 110% it is. 100%. But the point is, it's like the simplest thing, right? The simplest mechanic makes it so fun. That's the basis for your mobile games. That's what makes them so addictive. It's the most like
an interesting angle.
Yes, on the most mundane thing. Like hill climb racing. I don't know if you played. You see, you tap and hold. Back in the day, we had Jetpack Joyride. You tap and hold. Flappy Bird. You know what I'm saying, right? It's very interesting. So what you're saying is 100% true.
Oh man. I remember we did speak about this before. Do you still, is the reason you want to get into game design still for the ability to tell stories? What is the value that you, or the fulfillment that you derive from the game designing,
as opposed to what, like other forms of
what is, because I think this gets into an idea that's in the book, which is it's the difference between values and beliefs. So I was chatting with another guy the other day, and he makes his decisions based off of his values, right? He focuses on value-based decisions. Now let me explain that. People will believe something, right? You'll say, I believe that in order to be rich, you need to have X qualification, right? I believe that this is the case. But the problem with the beliefs-based thinking is that it gets the point of what you do missed. So you're going to believe that the path that you're going is going to lead you to being rich. Meanwhile, you're not really focused, or rather, actually, here's a better one. I believe money is the key to my happiness. Am I even saying this right? I believe when I get rich, I will be happy. Whereas if you make your decisions based off of a belief, you're often going to miss the thing that matters, which is what you want. And that's all based off of what you value. So let's say you work in a particular work environment, and you believe that in this place you will get rich, right? Because it's a high-paying job. But what you're missing in that is, really, why do you want money? Because maybe you actually value freedom, but in this job, your freedom is taken away. So then you eventually get the money, and now you're on this number, this theoretical number that was your financial freedom number or whatever. But now you're still not fulfilled. You're still not happy because you didn't optimize your decisions and your choices based on what you value. You base it off what you believe.
That's interesting. It solves the issue that I see people, or the conclusion that some people reach, where they're like, you'll never be satisfied. I'm not sure that's correct, because what you're saying is, or maybe you're looking for the wrong thing to fill the hole.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so now before I answer your question, it's interesting because the value thing is a lot more solid of a foundation, but the issue is it requires introspection and self-awareness, which is that's a skill nowadays.
That's the issue, eh?
It's a skill, yeah, dude. Well, okay, it's a skill on one end because you actually have to know how to dissect yourself. Because if it's like a bag of snakes in there. Because if you go in head first, you get caught up and spiral down certain memories, and right. So you need to know how to do it. But also, maybe people don't value it. I think that's it. People don't really see the value of
introspection.
Sitting down with yourself, meditating, asking yourself, what do you want?
Of knowing thyself.
Yes, knowing thyself. I've recently started hearing that around. So
Aristotle said it.
Is it? Right.
No, it's kind of cliched. But dude, it's everything.
Relevant. Yes.
It's everything.
No, that's all. I mean, dude, the greatest mystery of the universe is yourself, because you are there. Imagine the motivations, you hardly know what drives your motivations until you like stop and actually think about it. I mean, recently a friend of mine put me on Gabor Mate, and so he's I don't want to mistitle him, but I believe he's in the psychology field. His thing is around trauma and like how big of a role trauma plays in your life. And just that topic, just my friend bringing that up made me think, geez, man, like the smallest things in your past, I mean, you wouldn't call it trauma per se, but it might have been a traumatic event, would guide the way you see that particular event later on in your life.
Yeah.
Something as simple as an interaction with a guy or
And it may
a
not be
female
true.
or a thing or a tech. Yes, exactly.
not be true.
Piece of technology, a car, a plane, something stupid. And you don't realize that it,
I mean, a black man,
right. You see, like
a woman.
Yes.
You could have all these preconceptions now.
Yeah, and you have an experience that really shifts your view on things, and it wrecks you down the line, and if it wrecks you enough, it'll cause you to wreck other people. But in any case, yeah, dude, I wholeheartedly believe that it is not a belief, it is a value, because it's rooted in the idea that my purpose here is to tell stories. That is my purpose. I'm convinced beyond anyone telling me anything different. And that game design is just one of the routes that I want to pursue. The rest is, I mean, film and video, and well, that is the big one. And then the rest of it, I mean, your app design and your other piece of media like graphic design, it's all a form of expression. It all assists in telling a story. That's why I'm a multimedia designer, right? I have to know what to pick, what to use to tell a particular story.
Very wise choice, eh? To choose multimedia because every profession, I believe, is just us channeling ourselves. It's us learning to channel ourselves in the world. So I believe we're perfect, but we're too chaotic for the taste of everyone.
What do you mean perfect?
When we come out of the womb, when we're babies, we're perfect. Like a child has everything they need and they don't need anything else. But now that's not the world we live in. We don't live in a world where we can be children all day. We live in a world with systems. We live in a world with politics and policies. And we live in a world where we can't be ourselves. We can't be ourselves 100%. I remember Robert Greene, he's the author of 48 Laws of Power and a bunch of other books.
Yes.
He said, and it was like, yeah, that's flipping true. Like, even as you write, so they were talking about style. There's no such thing as just being yourself. So he was talking about it in the context of writing, but I think it's everywhere in the world. There's no such thing as completely being yourself because you're a bit too chaotic. You still have to conform to the language that you write in, or the language you speak in, English in that case. For him, you still have to conform to the conventions of a book. You still have to conform to the conventions of whatever medium that you're going to be expressing yourself on. Maybe you're in an aristocratic environment. You're not going to speak in the same register. Like, that doesn't make sense. If you do, then you're already excluding yourself. You're not communicating effectively. People won't listen to you. And so we are channeling ourselves through the things we study. You do a degree so that you can learn how to channel the chaos, the beautiful chaos that you are, in the world's ways.
Do you see that as a bad thing?
No, I see it as what it is.
You're indifferent to it.
It's like power. It's like money. Money is not evil. Power is not evil. It's the abuse of those things. It's the way. So it's the way you channel that thing. So I think it's mediums and channels, they are indiscriminate, bro.
Yeah. I think some of them are necessary. Like, because okay, when you say we're perfect, that's an interesting thought. We'll dig into that, but I think that if you okay, let's take story and art as an example, because when it comes to story, there's a gentleman that wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces. What is this man's name? Joseph. I'm going to kill myself. I don't remember his name.
Look,
but
Joe,
yeah,
out
Joe,
there, brother.
my man Joe.
We
Shout
back
out,
you,
shout
no
out,
matter
Joe.
who you are, bro.
Yes. So long time ago, probably early 1900s. I don't know, somewhere. This man studied hundreds, if not thousands, of different stories told throughout the ages from different cultures.
What?
Right.
Then he wrote a book on it.
So he wrote this book, right? And
I have to write that down.
what this book is now, this book serves as, you can call it the foundation of any screenwriter, script writer, storyteller. The reason being, I'll explain now. So when it comes to a story, there is a fundamental set of how can
Elements.
elements that have to be present.
Do you know
for
what you did
any
there?
story.
It's called circumlocution.
What's that?
You see, it's so circum is Latin for roundabout. Circum. Locutio is talk, is speak.
Talking in
Roundabout
circles.
talk.
Right. Okay.
So you are explaining the word element roundabout. So that's what we do. We'll try and say a word and we lose conciseness, obviously, because we were trying to find it. But
Is it that thing of using a word to describe another word, but you're not giving a definition?
Basically.
Something like that. Oh,
Yeah.
all
It's
right.
like you know the meaning of what you're saying, but you can't find the word. So you're taking all the other blocks that you have there are.
I'm trying to make
And you
something
made
out
it.
of it.
Which you
Interesting.
did. Which you
Okay.
did. I could
I
feel
came
it.
close. It was
I
there.
could feel
Right.
it.
The word was there.
Yeah.
Right. So it's made of these elements, right, to form archetypes of what we consider a story. A story that, not just a story, but a story that resonates with us as human beings. In order to do that, you need to have your elements, right? So things like a regular world that your hero is born in, a push or a call to adventure, crossing a threshold, the old man that gives you the sword to slay the beast, you know?
The hero's journey.
The hero's journey. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it is. And so that's what he came up with, the hero's journey. But he constructed it. That's where, as far as I know, that's where it started.
That's the source.
Yes, the source. So he came up with this base and he said that this is what I saw throughout the ages. I'm not making it up. And so people like George Lucas would read stuff like this, and that's how they'd construct their stories in their head and make it something not just fun to watch, but fundamentally connects to what makes you human. Right? So now, if you start as a budding scriptwriter and you've got all these ideas flying around, that's beautiful. That's fantastic. You're perfect. Right? But what your screenwriter, scriptwriter, lecturer is going to say, right, take that, put it to the side, open the book,
Yeah.
learn the book.
Yeah.
You can decide if you want to apply it or not. It's perfectly fine. Because look, what you are saying is 100% true. Like people come with their own selves, and it's just a ball of energy, especially when it comes to art.
Especially
Because it's flying out in all different directions, right?
Yeah.
But you have to channel it into like a beam, right? Which is fine. Now, most of the time, I would say, you need to channel it. You need to use the hero's journey. You need to know the myths that came before, so that you can construct something that resonates as well. But sometimes you got to break the mold. And so you come out with stories that don't necessarily have your happy endings. You think about movies like Seven. Have you watched Seven? It's a thriller. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman. It's from the 90s. Are you familiar with Saw?
Yes.
Right. So this came before Saw. Some people speculate that Saw was inspired by this, but brilliant thriller. One of the best thrillers I've seen. One of my favorite movies, actually. The end has a mother of a twist. Right. And I didn't expect that. Seven, and it's got like the number 7 as one of the letters. It's funny, but you'll see.
So is it the first letter?
I think it's 7.
You know,
did
when
they
I
replace
search
with
up
this one?
7 Brad Pitt, I'm sure
It's gonna come up.
Brad Pitt's
It's a
the
massive.
ultimate search
Yeah,
engine
no, he'll come.
asset.
Yes, you'll see him. You'll see it come up. And so you get things like that. You get situations that end up in something that doesn't necessarily fall within the typical mold, but it still resonates with you.
Yeah.
And so now you wonder, okay, that weirdness, you mentioned the kind of weirdness that people come with that they can't necessarily, put out there in society, right? I would argue that if you know how to channel it out there, you can still put yourself there in like 90% form. So there's a cartoon my sister and I grew up watching called Adventure Time. Are you familiar with Adventure Time?
I did too.
Yeah, hell yeah, right. Now you know how weird that cartoon gets, right?
Yeah.
It gets funky, right?
Yeah.
It gets real funky. Like it gives you pause. If you watch it now, you're like,
Yeah, like literally
Chief.
the jokes were so
the
weird.
jokes were weird,
And
right?
they're like their butts. They drew their
It was weird. It was weird.
It
Even the
was
way
weird.
they speak was weird. But it literally it's almost like seeing that weirdness made my and my sister's weirdness feel normal. Like it had a place. Like we were like, okay, we can, we don't have to hide ourselves too much. Now. Like there's people that are doing this out there that put their weirdness in there. JG Quintal, regular show. He's
yes, he literally wrote it and he acted it. He was Mordecai.
Right. Yes. And he's also got a bit of weirdness.
Super
I mean, if you
weird
look
guy.
at some of the character designs in that series, it's so funky, dude. I mean, I remember one of the guys, an episode where the dudes we were playing an arcade game and there was a guy that held a high score and he was literally a floating beard head. Why? Why? And then I can go on to Japanese video game design. I love looking at Japanese horror because the monsters are so detailed and visceral and they've got so much story in them. Like you will see, I don't know, a character like Silent Hill is a perfect example. Some of the designs, the monster designs, they are crazy. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you're familiar with the Silent Hill franchise.
More or less.
Right.
More
So
or less.
I know the movies. I've not grown up playing the games, but in the movies, there's a section where the dark hallway, and there are these figures standing like mannequins in the middle of the hallway, holding knives and syringes and like scissors. Right. You get closer and shine a light. They are nurses, right? But their faces are almost mutilated and figureless, right? And the clothing is very provocative, very tight clothing, short skirts, all of that stuff. And but the skin is gray, and they make these moans, like very sexual moans. And the more you learn about the monsters themselves, you realize that it's somebody's interpretation of a nurse that they might have taken advantage of or some nonsense like that. And so the visuals that you get, it's a reflection of that individual and how he saw the female nurses there. And you see so much. And it's like, that's not a typical monster design. A typical monster design, if you want to call them typical, is like a werewolf, a zombie, X, Y, Z. Like, I mean, but that's an example of put your weirdness out there, man.
Sure.
Put your weirdness out there, at least in art. I can say for art. Maybe other industries are so, locked down that you cannot do that. But I think for art, bro, you let that fly because, I mean, even something as simple as sketching, we take it back to sketching. One of the things that I struggled with in the beginning when I was actually putting time into sketching was, how can I develop my own art style? And so I'd run around copying different artists, like saying, oh, okay, I like the way he draws, let me draw a face like him. I like his eyes, let me draw a face like him. I like, I believe his name is Jim Lee. He does a lot of DC comics. I love his anatomy. He does it so well.
That's Stan's brother.
No,
Stan's nephew.
Well, he's an Asian gentleman, so unless
so
Stan is,
he's a different Lee. Okay,
he's a different Lee.
Okay.
Yeah, he's so good. He's very good with Batman comics, and so I try and But at the end of the day, I felt this was late high school, early university. I thought I'm not getting anywhere. But then when I stopped for a while and I came back and I was like, this is some unique stuff. I think I've got something. Because I'm running around trying to draw other people's things. Why don't I just draw what the hell I want to draw? Just so happen to be like certain alien forms and stuff like that. And I thought, nah, it's weird when people look at it. They're like, "What are you drawing? Cat people? Or what are you doing, dude?" And I'm like, "Okay, let me learn to draw humans. Screw that, dude. Draw what you want to draw." And then now when people look at it, they're like, "Damn, bro,
Yeah.
that's dope. How'd you do that?" So kind of believe in your weirdness, maybe. I don't know.
You know, this gets into, and you've just come around perfectly full circle, bro, to exactly the thought I was thinking of. So firstly, you mentioned how you come to varsity to learn these things, these principles, these tools, right? These frameworks.
Right.
Big one. And that's another idea that we'll come back to, but
Sure.
you come here to learn the rules. And I don't know if you know the quote by Picasso. An artist, the purpose of the rules are to be broken for an artist. You learn the rules to the point that you can use the tools, and then as an artist, it's your job to break them.
Right, but there's the caveat. You said learn them first.
You have to learn them.
That's
you
the
have
problem.
to learn how to break them. So, you know, Picasso's other quote: "Good artists copy, great artists steal." You were also having to copy artists before you started to make your own thing. And I thought about this quote. I was like, good artist, great artist. You know, I consider myself an artist, and I was like, what do I need to do, or how can I break that quote in my own context? And I've sort of broken down the two types of artists, the good artist and the great artist, right? Being a good artist and that whole copying thing, like, what is the copying thing? I think it's a matter of taste. So good artists copy, i.e., good artists have the greatest or the good enough taste to copy the right things that others will still appeal to. So you can't just copy anything, because when you copy anything, then
It's nothing.
it's nothing. It's nothing. And it might just be a disfigured amalgamation of nonsense thoughts. Now it's just that chaotic thing.
Hey man, somebody will pay $1 million for that painting. I'm telling you now.
But the thing is,
somebody.
no. But the thing is, those guys who have got to that point, they learn the rules.
There's a rhyme and reason to their madness.
There's a rhyme and reason to their madness.
Yeah.
But copying, being a good artist, is a matter of taste. And I haven't yet operationalized it, but I in my mind right now, I'm just thinking of the idea of, that's why it's so important to curate your consumption, because that determines your taste. And if you're eating shit, you'll have shit taste. That's what's gonna happen. So, like, I guess that's how we can become good artists. But how do we become great artists? And I thought about the great part. The thing about great artists is they both have good taste, but they also can tinker. They know how to steal. Great artists steal. They know how to take an idea and transfigure it into something amazing, something theirs. They transfigure it to their own inclinations, their own tastes, their own style. And so I'm learning about, okay, how do I operationalize that? You need to copy a lot. You need to learn how to copy. That's how you get to that level. Then you need to learn how to steal. You need to take your own experiences and apply these different ideas that you're taking from everywhere, and you need to apply it to this thing. So when you, like, I remember I've been writing quotes for years. I literally have, like, in my notes, my Google Notes, I've been writing quotes that resonate with me for years. But I always felt sort of, when I say these quotes, I felt some type of way about saying them and not quoting the authors, right? Sometimes I'll actually, like, change it, and then I'll want to not quote them, but I'll be like, nah, that's kind of slimy, which makes sense. In fact, that's very good. If you're not a great artist, you better quote everything. But when you become, if you're a good artist, you better quote everything. But when you become a great artist, it's yours. You've stolen it. I've taken it and I've made it mine. And you need to sort of get to a level where you've learned the rules and you've learned great taste. You've learned what really is good to get to the level where you can steal it and make it yours. That makes sense.
Interesting thought. I've got something that runs parallel and probably overlaps you in a lot of ways when it comes to the stealing thing. I think of it like this. True objective originality, I don't think exists, or at least not anymore. You know, the days of discovering new things, it's few and far between now, right? Especially when it comes to things like ideas in terms of maybe business or stories, stuff like that. I mean, so with stories, it's gotten to such a point where there's genres for everything. And people expect, if it's a thriller, it's got to have this. If it's a sci-fi, it's got to have that, etc., right? And so when it comes to the whole stealing thing, I think that, like you said, you should learn, first learn your restrictions, right? But then take from other people. It sounds aggressive, but that's what it is. But that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
You take things, right? You learn the rules enough to know what to take and where to insert into your own thing, right? But sure, you can take something like a great detective story from the 1940s. Okay, take it beat for beat in terms of your scenes and stuff, right? If you take it, recreate it, and release it, that's crappy, right? You dodge, right? But if you take that, go back into your mind, growing up in the streets of Joburg or the Cape Flats or something, replace everything with your experiences. Change a few things here and there. Add your own characters here and there. The beat's still the same. It's still got the DNA of whatever detective novel, but all of a sudden it's original. Original doesn't mean new. It means taken, remixed, added to. True originality does not exist. I don't think it exists. We just build upon what comes before. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think if you do it right, bro, you got something.
I'm even thinking about Star Wars now.
Yeah.
People think, you might look at Star Wars and you might think one thing, right? You might think, oh, it's the story about Luke Skywalker and his ascension to taking down the Empire, right? It's his ascension. You might think it's a typical heroine type of story, right? Obviously, there's the huge trilogy that arcs the whole thing, but you might think it's just a hero story. But it's if you look at the undertones, it's like you could take this and put it in another realm. This is Luke Skywalker. This is a man's journey to finding religion. That's what the Force was. And the Force, it wasn't out to take down Darth Vader. That wasn't the case. It was, the Force was the Force.
The Force just is.
The Force just is. And it was his journey there that, inevitably took out the Empire in that specific realm, in that context. But it was more than anything, it was a religion. It was a religious journey.
It was a journey of self-discovery.
It was a journey of self.
Yeah.
It was a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Bro.
But it can resonate with everyone because it's a story that every kid grows up with. I mean, I'm going to pull, because you mentioned Luke Skywalker, I'm going to pull one of the most iconic scenes from the first movie was A New Hope, né?
New Hope, yeah.
When he ran out on his uncle's farm and the suns were setting. Because at the time his uncle said no, he didn't want him to join the rebellion. And so he ran outside and the sun was setting, the gold was hitting his skin, and he stared out at the sunset. Yeah. And the great John Williams track played in the background, and it was just like this emotional thing where he just stared up into the sky. That's literally what we all do, because we don't know where we want to go exactly, but it ain't here. It ain't here.
He's not here in Garanku, back home.
Right. Yeah. You look out to the stars because you hope in your heart that you hope and believe that there's a place for you among one of them out there. Everyone feels like that. it's a myth. That's what a myth is called. A myth is called a myth because it's so archetypal to the human experience. And that's what George did. He took it from older stories, older structures. The Hero with 1,000 Faces, that book is poetry, by the way. I'm still listening through that thing.
So
Every
you
line,
you audible it.
I have to. I cannot, not with this book.
Okay.
It's pure poetry. I'm not a reader as well, so it's maybe I'm just being a baby. But my lord,
No,
it is
dude,
pure poetry.
Reading can be overrated sometimes. Although it is a pretty high form of entertainment. I think there's no higher form than reading.
It's because you fill in the blanks. That's why you can never recreate a book in movie form or series form, in fact, because everyone creates their own little world.
It's like the movie is like that version of the book that I don't even want it like that because it wasn't your vision. It wasn't your version, and they leave a lot out. Because
Exactly.
sometimes books are just too dense.
No, exactly. But you said something important. Your vision. It's a book is a very personal thing.
Yeah.
Especially when it's fiction.
Yeah.
Especially when it's fiction.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not a fan of translating stories between mediums. Because I don't think it. I think it's written for a medium. You write something for a particular medium. Like you can't just translate a movie story to a video game. That ain't gonna fly, chief. Because half of it, when you're watching a movie, you're watching the character, you're watching the characters, you're watching the main guy make choices. In the game, it is you. Sure, you're following a linear story, but you choose how to go about it. You choose to walk left when the game designer said walk straight. You choose to see if this is destructible or not. You choose to speak to this NPC. And so in your mind, you attach yourself to that character. In fact, I've witnessed this a lot, especially with my sister. So my sister and I do this thing where she never wants to play, but she wants to watch me play. Because apparently from the beginning when I first got my PS3.
She's younger, ne?
Yes, she's
I watch my brother play
Is it?
all the time.
It's a thing apparently. So
yeah.
So my sister, when I first got my PS3, my sister would sit on the couch and just watch. She was maybe 6 years younger. I was in high school. I was 13.
Similar for me. So my brother's 4 years older than me. Yeah.
And so she'd watch me. And I think it started there. But point being, we were playing Last of Us. And
that thing's tough. Like the story, it's deep, bro.
we're talking game or series?
The game, dude.
Okay, good.
No. Look, I know the real
I'm
thing.
about to tackle you, homie. If you said series,
that series
it's
is
probably a
weak.
good series. I don't know.
The series, no, dude. I'm telling you, it's not gonna do the same thing.
My sister and I watched the first few episodes, and we looked at each other like didn't hit the same.
You see,
Did not hit the same. Joel isn't joling.
Joel isn't joling.
And so now an interesting phenomenon occurred, right? Where we'd play, let's say a zombie or clicker or whatever attacks, and I should have done something, right? Then when we replay it between my sister and I, we jump between Joel should have moved and I should have moved. The clicker killed you. The clicker killed Joel. It's a very interesting thing that happens, and it feels so strange, but it feels so natural to say, I, me. And I often think that it's almost, book readers will kill me, but it's almost a step above a book. Because now you're not just creating the images in your head, you're inserting yourself, controlling yourself within this reality that you've created. You're not just watching the reality you've created. You're partaking in it now. And it's like your brain doesn't know how to jive with it.
The readers are gonna pop you.
You want to start?
Reading games, you gonna pop you, bro. No, but I hear you, dude. There's something just hectic about a real immersive experience. Like, there's
It's the height. I think it's the height of an art form. If an art form is there to elicit an emotional response through any of your senses, I think that a game is one of the highest because it just pulls you in. That's one of the reasons why I want to do game design. I wanted to do game design before I wanted to do video. Before I wanted to do anything, I wanted to do game design. I just didn't know how to do it.
Here's the issue, right? It's the already what I see with game consumption versus reading consumption is number one, games can get quite addictive. That's the first thing. Reading, we'll see if you get addicted. I'll throw you a quick book and we'll see if you get addicted. So there's that part.
Yeah, well, games are more accessible.
Yeah. But then there's also the part of your ability to create. I'd argue because a game, it's harder to create from your experience of a game than it is to create from your experience of a book. Because a book, you take it from the thing that you read and you can immediately write. So it's from words to words. With a game, it's a little tougher
What do
because
you mean in terms of inspiration?
in terms of, so when you consume something
Yep.
and you don't create with it, it becomes useless. Becomes useless in the world. Like, I mean, if we're just consuming games all day and we're not creating things, then we fall for this issue that we have in the world of excess capture and deficit creation. So actually it gets into my idea of, so this is a framework that I use in my mind: value creation versus value capture, right? So value creation in business, we basically have various inputs that are put into a business, an enterprise, that we process and we create valuable outputs through goods, through services, etc. Right? So that's value creation. That is before we sell anything. It's before any selling. Now, value capture is our process of, or rather our whole, it's the concept of taking that value that you created and making money from it. So value capture, the levers in value capture will be price, it will be sales and marketing tactics. So for an example, right, you make a strawberry daiquiri, right? You make strawberry daiquiris and you sell it. You can sell it for 50 Rand, you could sell it for 100 Rand. That's a matter of value capture, right? But it costs you however much, right? And you make profit, so that's how you become sustainable as a business. To the customer, it will always be less valuable than what it costs in a perfect economic environment. So people will always want a bargain for their purchase. So if your strawberry daiquiri is 1,000 Rand, I'm like, dude, this thing, what did it cost? 20 bucks? I'm not paying 1,000 Rand for a strawberry daiquiri. But if I view it, so now if you sell it for 100 and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it's good, I would probably have been willing to buy it for 120 or 200, just for illustration purposes. So you're always going to capture a portion of the value you create. You'll never capture all of it, or you shouldn't, at least in a sustainable economy. So value capture versus value creation is the framework I use, making sure that I'm always creating more than I capture. What was the thought before this? I lost it.
No, it's. I mean, we were comparing the book, the stuff that you get
Yes.
from the book, and be able to apply.
Consumption, yes, that was the thing. So in the world, in games, game design and game development, there's a lot of value creation, right? But now what we have in a lot of cases, especially in entertainment realms, is we have too much consumption and not enough creating. So if we have way too many people playing games and not enough people making games or making more experiences inspired by those games, then we're in a world where we're having less and less value than what we consume, what we capture. So my thing around it is, books generally will result in more value creation than a game. Because also think about the audience that plays games. It's like generally children play games. So
I think the average age is a lot higher than children. I think it's middle-aged people
I mean, when we say games
nowadays.
I guess when we say games, you'll also put Angry Birds there. I guess I might be talking about your immersive experiences.
Yeah, I mean,
Even
a lot of the demographics have shifted, bro, over the last 20 years.
makes sense. Yeah.
It's a lot. But I see what you're saying. I think we're just the issue is you don't, if we're talking about creating value after consuming a product, let's call
Yeah.
the product the book, right? With books, naturally, you get already a subcategory called self-development. Already that's meant to be applied afterwards. You don't get that with games because games are there. They started as entertainment. Sure, you can argue they developed into a lot stronger platforms for storytelling. I don't think they
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
particularly as storytelling mediums, but they've definitely developed into it.
Can't really tell a story on Space Wars.
Space Wars.
Like with the little alien thing
Exactly.
at the top.
No,
Like
exactly.
alien- you know that
Exa-
alien
and
bug?
asteroids as well. Like
Yeah.
old games, like
Yeah.
Pac-Man, etc., etc. So back in the day, I don't think they were mediums, but now they are. But I find it hard to see how they can replicate a self-help book. Fair. I'll give you that one. But I think we're talking about something complex though, because people in a perfect world, sure, we'd apply a lot of what we take in. But people have their flaws and vices and stresses in life, and oftentimes we do things just to comfort ourselves without thinking to produce something out of it. So even movies, dude.
Yeah.
People binge. In Netflix, you binge series, dude.
Yeah.
It's very few people from the book side, I would say, and the game side, just because you're making comparisons, that'll actually go out there and put some real value into the world. Because I don't think you can guarantee that if a person picks up a self-help book, they're going to put it into work.
Oh no, nine times out of 10.
You see, because you also, once again, you have to be the type of person to put the value
To
into
apply.
that thing. Yes. And then that means you have to have been that type of person to actually play it in the first place or read the book in the first place. And so there's a large chunk of people that just don't care. And they're just reading for the sake of reading it. Or they're just playing for the sake of playing. But also in books' favor, with the rise of your free-to-play games like Fortnite.
Dude,
It's drowned. Yeah, it's really shifted the perception of games. I did think games were. Did you know Zack Snyder was addicted to Fortnite at one point? I
What?
didn't know that. I was listening to him talk.
Addicted?
I was listening to him talk on Joe Rogan,
That's
and he said he was like playing for God knows how long. His wife comes into the room. He's like, "Shouldn't you be making movies or something?"
Fortnite's taking me away.
That's hilarious. He stopped.
Sorry, baby. I can't provide.
Listen.
Fortnite's got me.
Listen, yeah, this 12-year-old is talking shit to me. I need to put him in his place.
Let's just sort him out.
To take him to bed, you know. So I mean, yeah, dude, it's a very different base of people. Like you said, I mean, reading takes a specific kind of person as well. But games are so accessible. Anyone and everyone can play it.
Super accessible.
Anyone and everyone. I remember when I scroll on YouTube from time to time, there's this old uncle that I see. He's like, must be in his early 70s or so. He's playing Battlefield. Right? He's giving like tutorials on multiplayer Battlefield.
That's crazy.
I'm like, so, I mean, old people, super young people, we know from our generation, we were trying to get GTA wherever we could. You know? Now, can you imagine how easy it is to access? Everything is digital, you know.
Yeah.
So anyone can get their hands on anything.
Oh, GTA, bro. You're taking me back.
Hey, bro.
Yo. But now GTA 6 is coming out, eh? Is it already out?
No, it's coming. It's coming. I, you know, the memes are like, bro, I'm gonna die before I see that game. Like I think one of the memes are like me taking my last breath on my deathbed and then gets a notification GTA 6 released. Rockstar. Hey, that's gonna break the world. I think didn't they say GTA 5 is the single most profitable piece of media that ever existed?
I'm not surprised. It's the highest grossing game ever.
Ever. And so when it comes to GTA 6, that's gonna break the world. I remember when this was a while ago, I think it was during COVID, and Epic Game Store does the PC is the PC gaming platform, one of the platforms like Steam. And from time to time, one of the things they did, or it started doing back there, is they started giving away games for free every week to try and steal.
That's dangerous.
To try and steal, I say, it's to try and steal people away from Steam. Right? And there was this one day where they released GTA 5 for free. The servers crashed. Nobody could get that game because the servers crashed. They did not expect that many people to get. It's insane, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you're right, dude. It's not everyone that's gonna take a Fortnite experience and think, I'm going to go build a log cabin in the woods with a machine gun. Yeah,
But I mean,
get you, dude.
after
It's a shame.
playing Last of Us, I mean, you can think. You could write about some things, bro. You could, yeah. I know that one
It's
will.
very it is
It's
inspirational.
inspiring, man.
It's inspiring, but it's also very realistic.
Yeah.
It's also like gritty.
heavy,
It's I've not experienced a story like that before because
Yeah.
it's so. I mean, the
Yeah.
second one, I don't know if I've made my peace with it yet. My sister hasn't.
I heard about it and I was like, I'm
You didn't?
not touching it.
Alunga.
I'm not touching it.
Alunga.
Because I can already see you, dog. There's this angst in you now after playing that game.
I've got the disc. Ne?
Can you
I'm gonna
see?
bring the disc.
Yeah. Leave
Stay
me.
here.
Leave me, chief. I don't. And that's another thing, dude.
Yeah.
My brother gets annoyed by it, but dude, I hate watching, even playing things that aren't the best.
So the new Star Wars.
Oh goodness gracious! I had to because like I like Star Wars,
Yeah.
but
So I mentally divorced myself from Disney's new trilogy. You know what the problem is, right? So when my best friend Joel and I were in university, we had this very naive list of requirements that we wanted our future girlfriends to have. Right? One of them was Star Wars fan.
no.
Right? And so, okay, fine. I know. Okay, fine. There's going to be a lot of stuff there that doesn't make sense, right? And so now, my girlfriend now, she knows Star Wars, right? So I got excited when we were getting to know each other initially. But then I asked, which Star Wars?
Wait, you think your girlfriend at that time, or like now?
No.
Okay.
And then she was like, the one with Rey.
She's your ex, ne?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We broke up immediately.
That makes sense. That makes.
No, man, I was shocked. And I said, why?
No, but is she being serious?
Yes. And I asked why. And she said,
Because she's a girl?
the love story between Rey and. Right? And now here's the thing, right? It's not, for the people listening, we're not being like.
It's not like I'm
we don't-
anti-love or
Yes,
anything like
no,
that.
not at all. In fact, if you want a real love story with tragedy, you go Anakin's route. You want to know about love, loss, and
That's some
letting go.
Shakespearean shit.
Every time I talk about it, I'm like, screw Shakespeare. You think that's tragedy?
Yeah.
You think homie finding her dead, killing himself, she waking up, killing herself is tragedy? I got that right? I didn't mix them up.
Look, man, I just know people were killing each
People
other.
died, yeah.
People died.
You want to know tragedy? You look there. And so I took it upon myself to re-educate her. So I'm still coming up with the curriculum. But every time we bring up Star Wars, she's just like, but babe, the love story, Rey Skywalker. Skywalker. one of the first things I says, babe, please don't call her Skywalker.
Please, please, please.
And she's like, but she is. I was like, do you know the legacy of Skywalker? And I just got flashes. I just got flashes from the Clone Wars. I got flashes from the original trilogy. I got flashes, bro. I'm getting goosebumps now because I'm just remembering all of the lessons that George put into his things. You know, he said this isn't a sci-fi, epic. It's a soap opera. It's a family soap opera. It's drama.
Yeah.
It's tragedy. It's pain.
Sure. I love the way he puts it, man. It's a soap opera, and like that's what's lacking in a lot of art today.
It's not based on value.
It's not based on artistic value.
It's not based on artistic
because I mean Disney is a machine.
Shout out Disney.
Shout out, dog. Like no, but like shout
what
out.
A business.
You're capturing a whole lot of value.
What a business.
You're capturing a whole lot of value.
Yes.
I mean, have you seen what like dude? So we got Disney Plus. So we have the streaming service.
Do you actually get the subscription?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not trying to say I'm a pirate. I'm just surprised.
Look, man, like it's better to support people for like just ethically, but
Disney?
Look, I mean, ethics, piracy, it's actually not all that bad.
I've heard that argument.
There's a whole argument around it, but don't need the headache.
Right. So
you swipe through that thing, bro. You will see Star Wars everywhere, and it's disgusting.
It is.
You think, oh, yeah, I like Star Wars. I like Star. There's Lego Star Wars. There's this Star Wars.
Star Wars partnership with Fortnite.
Oh my
god! They're partnering with everyone. So on that note, I saw a meme somewhere of some guy seeing a picture, or a little kid seeing a picture of Master Chief from Halo. Only recently got into Halo, and then the older guy's like, "Do you know who this is?" And then the kid's like, "Oh yeah, the guy from Fortnite." Ha.
Uncultured.
Yeah, ne?
Uncultured.
Anyway.
How could you?
Right. So,
but Disney, man, respect to them, man. Respect to them.
They know how to make money.
Yeah, they make
But they also know how to blow money.
Really?
Yes, because you know how much money they've lost on Star Wars as well.
How much?
They've lost a lot because they've cancelled shows.
Oh.
I mean, the newest one, The Acolyte, you know how people are looking forward to that? Cancelled now recently, apparently. Why? I don't know.
Look,
the Ahsoka stuff didn't do as well as Ahsoka didn't do as well as people wanted. Apparently, I know that Obi-Wan wasn't what we wanted it to be as well. Here's the thing, right? You can make people that are in support of Disney can make the argument and say, bro, you'll never be pleased because you have these unrealistic expectations of these characters. Over the decades have been built. I disagree. I disagree. Give that money to a fan and see what they make.
I do hear you.
It's been done. Well, he used his own money. Star Wars Theory. Have you heard of the gent? Biggest Star Wars YouTuber. He talks about everything Star Wars. He makes his own. He covers Star Wars in general, right? He saved up, I think, $100,000, something like that. He made his own Vader short story.
How long was it?
Proper. It was probably like 15, less than 20 minutes.
It's on YouTube.
Piece of art, my guy. Piece of art. I think it's called Vader Shards of Darkness or something.
Is it on YouTube?
It is.
Let me check it out, dude.
Beautiful, dude. Emotional as hell, and it looks. It looks so good. It looks fantastic, and people use examples like that and say, "Disney, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And then certain things started happening, like a giant billboard of the Mandalorian, and Mando was like flying through an explosion, and the colors weren't matching up. Like there was an explosion under him, but you couldn't see it on his armor, and so some YouTuber took it and redid it, and it looked way better than it did by Disney. And then questions started arising, like, "What are you doing, Disney? Who's actually working on these IPs now?" And then you start hearing stories of like. Coming out not just with Star Wars but like The Witcher, and you start hearing the people that are working on it, writing it, directing it, aren't actually fans of the Witcher series, the books and the games.
That's why it's so shit.
And Henry Cavill is,
He's a Witcher fan.
Yeah,
Yeah, he played The Witcher.
dude. And so now I start to see a pattern in the industry now where people are just like, okay, these IPs make money. Let's create a machine that churns it out at a beautiful rate. But you lose the soul of what you're creating.
Yeah.
It's like you're creating Frankenstein but missing the step of the lightning. Now there's nothing there. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. It's just an amalgamation of body parts that came before. Apparently George Lucas had the script written for the next 3 Star Wars. It apparently involved Luke's daughter. And Princess Leia, because she was force sensitive, etc., etc. Disney bought it, threw it out. You wonder why the latest 3 movies are so weirdly structured. And it's because the directors didn't know what the other director was doing. And so, the Force Awakens starts fine, right? But then the next movies are weird. They don't make sense. They're like different vibes because they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They didn't know the long-term plan. Bro, did you see the clips of Mark Hamill going around doing press?
Let me just be straight up. I have not touched Star Wars since the last one because it's not nice.
Was it The Last Jedi?
The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Since The Last Jedi, I've just said no to Star Wars because they just
100%.
took
I respect
a big
that. I
all over
respect
it.
that. I respect that. When The Last Jedi was coming out, people were excited. Why? Because the last one ended with Mark Hamill in the final scene. They were like, oh, we're getting Luke. We're getting Luke back. And you know what Mark Hamill was going around saying? He was saying, guys, it's just a movie.
Brace yourselves.
It's just a movie. And you know what's crazy, right? You will find so many of these clips where he's on stage and people ask him, so what did you think about Luke and stuff? And he was saying, when I started as Luke was a symbol of something. Luke was actually a symbol of hope because George built this universe where rebellion was getting crushed. The Empire was the image of evil. Vader gave kids nightmares because he was supposed to be the most evil thing you've seen.
Yeah.
And yet this child brought his father back.
A new hope, man.
A new hope,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so
Disney.
Yes, Disney.
Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. And so Mark Hamill was going through this and he was saying, and I was going through the scenes and I turned to the director and I said, but Luke wouldn't say this. That's not Luke's character.
He knows Luke.
Luke wouldn't turn his back on everyone just because he failed once. And then he said that the conclusion was, I had to accept the fact that it wasn't a Skywalker story. It wasn't Luke's story anymore. And he had to let go. And I watched it and I could see it in his eyes. He was a broken man. He was just a shell doing Disney's marketing at that point.
Sure.
And from there I was like, that's not right. Where's George? And you see videos of George Lucas and he's an old man. He's walking funny. He's like,
he's done. Yeah.
James Earl Jones passed away. The voice of Darth Vader.
Sure.
Imagine, this is how it starts now. We're watching our Star Wars fade away. Our children are going to be brought up.
They're going to be watching nonsense.
Bro, even Marvel. Am I talking nonsense though? Even Marvel did the same thing, dude. Come on.
I have not touched anything since Endgame. I said no. I knew it. I knew it, dude.
To be honest, I watched Spider-Man No Way Home. There I'm fine.
No Way Home was fantastic. I'll give No Way Home.
You know why? Because Sony is smart. They keep their best writers for Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
For everyone else, for freaking, what's that Man-Bat one? What's it?
Man-Bat?
The guy that got bitten by a bat or some nonsense.
Oh, my goodness, dude. I'm telling you, I don't know anything.
That one was nonsense.
After Endgame.
Yeah.
After No Way Home.
After No Way Home. Yo, No Way Home was a different thing. I vied with the gents who all were Spider-Man. It was like premiere night, packed.
Yeah.
That's an experience, bro.
Yeah.
That's a community.
Yeah.
I don't think these kids have that anymore.
Dude,
What a shame.
there's nothing worse than failing on someone else's terms.
Mhm.
That's what I see.
Oh goodness, yeah.
Like, that's what I see Mark Hamill going through. That it's a failure when you didn't even set the rules. I feel like that's the worst thing you can do. You sign a contract to be employed by X person, and you don't really know what you value. You don't really know why you're here. You just know you want a job, maybe. And then they tell you to do X, Y, and Z, and you get sued. And it's like, yo.
They're caught up in the world of contracts, dude.
Contracts will be the death of you, of your soul.
Dude, this is such an interesting thing that it leads us to, because it's the shift of what used to be the establishment and what used to be your counterculture, I think is what they called it. The people that the divergence, the people that were against,
The rebels.
fight the power. You know what I'm saying? Fight corporations. Yeah. Now what happened? The indie companies became the establishment.
Yeah.
And so everything is weird now.
Yeah. The renegades became mainstream. There's something that always dies within something when it becomes mainstream. I mean, look at J. Cole, dude.
When it becomes a
He's a
product.
rapper. He's my favorite rapper. Well, he was.
Right.
Became mainstream, started going crazy. Goodness gracious.
But it's a choice, isn't it?
I don't know if it is, man. I don't know because we've never been there. We've never been in those rooms. I mean, in Hollywood, there could be devil worshippers. There's a lot of stories around that stuff. And so you don't know. I do know, like, that these guys, like a lot of these Hollywood actors, these guys have to act like women. It's sort of like it's like an initiation thing. It's kind of weird. Literally, all of the people who get into superstardom, like go into talk shows and they dress like women, or like they always do these weird ass things, bro.
See, the thing is now, it's control. So let's say you are an actor, right? Your end goal is to become like Johnny Depp. You want to act in Pirates of the Caribbean, etc., etc.
Tip top.
And so to get there, you need to go through certain channels, because if you don't, there's no other way. Because Hollywood, you have to know the people. You have to know this person, that person. You have to act in these movies, you won't be the top of the cast, but you be B cast and you work your way up, etc., etc. Point being, path is laid out for you. And so maybe somewhere along the way, that path includes things that are unsavory and degrading. I mean, if you think about women back in the day that wanted to become like an actress, like a proper actress. Even now, I can't name directors because I'm not privy to the exact controversies, but they all exist and they are happening with certain directors where they want things from these young girls to get certain parts and to get recognition and stuff like that.
I mean, Harvey Weinstein.
Yes. And so you
example.
you think about things like that, and then you think, what else is there that sort of taints you along the way? But then you also wonder, perhaps there's another way and people have disregarded it because it will make your path 100 times more difficult. And so I think about people. Now, I don't know about their personal lives, but from outward appearances, I look to someone like Keanu Reeves and the kind of energy he puts out there, kinds of movies he acts in, and directors like Christopher Nolan, etc., etc. Because if you're in a Nolan film, you're there. You're there. If Nolan comes to you with a script, you're set. You're gonna make money. But he's not churning out movies every year. He's not churning out movies every 6 months, not scripts every 6 months. He'll sit and wait and work on this thing, percolate this thing. because he's making movies that he wants to see. He somehow, some way, refused the influences that these paths push you down. You know, I'm not saying that's easy though.
Yeah.
But
we have a lot of channels though these days. Like, I mean, right now we're on our own platform, dude.
yeah.
We're telling stories on
Okay, but
our
that
own
comes
platform.
with its own problems now because everyone has access to it.
True.
So you have to work even harder.
Yeah, true.
Arguably,
Mm-hmm.
there's a flip side to that because I encountered this issue a couple years ago where Epic Games, right? I mentioned they have their game platform. They also own something called the Unreal Engine.
Yes, yeah.
You're familiar with the Unreal Engine?
Yeah.
This engine has been used for some of the best games like ever. I mean, Mass Effect, my favorite game series, built using Unreal Engine back in the day. Quake.
That was Unreal. That would have been Unreal Engine 3, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
3. So yeah, and then Unreal Engine 4 was out, and I knew this thing was a beast. You know, in high school I was doing research, etc. I was using Blender at the time. Blender wasn't as good as a game engine, so I was looking for a game engine. Unity was one of them, the people's engine, you know. But then there was Unreal Engine, and I was like, shit, I'll get my hands on that thing.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along the lines, big news: Epic Games is releasing the Unreal Engine for free. Now the problem here, right, is the age-old battle between the Unity engine and the Unreal Engine was pretty simple because the Unity engine was accessible to anyone and everyone. I even made games in high school on it. A game in high school on it. The problem with that is
still around, eh?
I'll show you videos.
Yeah.
I'll show you videos. In fact, I found and I modeled my own 3D character, modeled the environment, found motion capture animations, attached it to my model in Blender, exported it to Unity, put it into a game onto my iPhone. You could like move around and jump. This show was wild, dude.
So like the jumps were like, did they look realistic?
Oh
eh?
yeah, because it
of
was
the
proper
capture.
motion capture animations.
Yo,
I don't know how I did that.
that's
But
crazy.
but the issue is, people were making games, right?
Yeah.
Hundreds of games every day with
Oversaturated.
Unity,
Yeah.
and they were shit games.
Mm.
Now here's the thing. Unity would do this thing where, because it's free, they also want marketing, right? So when your game boots up, I don't know if you have the choice, but I think if you didn't pay for Unity, when your game booted up, it showed the Unity logo. So that became associated with shit games. Because people were releasing games like crappy mobile games, and then you saw Unity, you're like, mwah. You know?
I think I experienced that.
Right? Like a cube. It's like a cube.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so now you expect a crappy game. And now when Unreal was released, people would think the same thing. But here's the thing, right? What I think is there's some opportunity in there, even with things like podcasts and stuff.
When did Unreal release theirs to the public?
Oh, dude, I think it was probably in the 2013, 14. Don't quote me on that. But I know it was early on.
Yeah.
In any case, I see the advantage in that if there's a sea of mediocre games, sea of mediocre whatevers, you have your work cut out for you, and you can see exactly what you need to rise above that.
Yeah.
And when you do rise above it, people take notice because they're so sick and tired of looking at the mediocre stuff.
True.
So maybe there's opportunity there.
Interestingly, I recently listened to this podcast breaking down this one business called Spotter.
Okay.
They're they're basically an investments company that invests in YouTube creators, right? They invest in YouTube channels. They're the biggest investments company on the online space. Like they've put in like at the time when I was listening to this, it was 2022, like $600 million into YouTube creators. So they have a whole lot of financing data and knowledge and expertise in the space, founded by a guy who was at YouTube for 16 years. Interestingly, on that interview, I found out about how one thing that YouTube is really good at is compensating creators, thereby creating incentives for better content. So you know the YouTube algorithm, right? Average view duration, as well as watch time. So average view duration as well as click-through rate. Those are the two things that determine whether a video gets recommended to others.
Yep.
And that algorithm is the lifeblood of YouTube. That's the main thing, because people are getting videos that they want, and therefore it's so addictive and it works. It keeps people on the platform, etc., etc. These guys are really good at that algorithm stuff. But what that really helps with is it empowers creators and incentivizes them to create things that people want to watch, quality things. Now, obviously, it's not necessarily high production value, but it's definitely going to appeal to whoever's listening. So in the case of YouTube, they've done it really well in creating a place where people are getting exactly what they want. I think Unity was not wise because there was no incentive in their case for good games to be created, if that makes sense.
Game design is not accessible inherently, dude. It's a complex thing.
As
I
well.
mean, when it comes to videos, you can just pull out your phone and make something. But I would argue that the algorithm, sure, you could say that it encourages you to make, let's say, let's say productivity videos, let's say, and then you see it, if it gets put in front of the people that you want it to get put in front of, you see them liking it, gets put in front of more people that are looking for self-development stuff, encourages you to put more work into it, etc., etc. I think it's going a different path most of the time, wherein you come up with these trendy videos that are actually like cancer for the mind. Like I'm talking about things that are your Tide Pod situation where people were eating that or the clothes washing thing, and then that became a sensation, and it was fueled by videos, people watching these videos, and stuff like that is trended a lot. I can't give you stats and say good quality stuff is trended more than bad quality stuff in terms of content, but my goodness, YouTube is full of that nonsense.
Look, I actually did do a YouTube course last year. Found a lot of interesting stats. So there's about 2 million creators on YouTube making money, right? 2 million, that's quite a bit. But there's only 200,000 that are making enough as a full-time actual job. The 200,000 that are making enough, very few of them are actually the people that trend. It's very interesting. A lot of them are more people who are selling info products and selling specific products through their channels. Very niche channels. Those are the 200 that are making enough to make a living. And so I do hear you. There is a lot of junk. There is a lot of like just generally short form content isn't very valuable because, you know, like TikTok, you know, people love TikTok. Sorry guys if you love TikTok, but TikTok is really not so good for you just generally. You're just always getting these little shots. You're getting these little contextless shots.
Yeah, and you don't really retain it very well, even if it is productive.
You don't retain it, even if it's well produced, even if it is productive. 3 steps to speak better. I can give you 3 steps, but that doesn't mean you're gonna start speaking.
And you're gonna forget it 3 scrolls down.
You're gonna forget it.
I've tested that with myself. I've tried to right. I've scrolled right.
Crazy.
I saw something good. I tried to remember that. You know how hard it was to remember that. That's how I knew, nah, man, something's wrong here. So yeah, okay.
But there are people, and a lot of people, that are still creating good things. There's like people who will do whole deep dives on topics for like an hour. I mean, if you go to an Excel, you know, workshop channel where they're giving you tips on using Excel spreadsheets and leveraging the power of Excel and everything within it, you'll have like whole online courses, you know, so there are a lot of those. And YouTube is a great search engine to learn stuff. So if you like want to learn a specific skill, YouTube is a great place to sort of start just to wet your feet. But it's always best to like buy a course and seek mentors, because 10 YouTube videos are not going to help a lot of the time because they're unfocused. And you might not know that this is not the right tip for where you're at. So Yeah, there's those nuances to it.
But don't you think starting somewhere is better than not starting at all?
Exactly. No,
I
it's
think the
definitely
main
better.
I think the main issue is just people and their focus. Like they're not disciplined enough to stick with it. Whereas maybe with a course like a Udemy course or something, there's an extra layer of okay, I paid for this, and it's asking me to do the work.
On that, actually, so there's this interesting diagram. So there's these two pie charts. One is, so this is what we think success is. So what we think success is one chart, and what success actually is the other chart. So we think success is, and in this one it says hard work. We think success is all about how hard you work. How consistent are you? Are you disciplined? Are you working hard? In reality, there is a quarter how hard you work. There's another quarter who you work with, and there's a half of what you work on. So, yes, you can beat your head on the, you can eventually, maybe if you hit your head on the wall enough, crack the wall. But the thing is that a mentor or a specific curriculum helps with is they know where the most vulnerable part on the wall is. That's where you need to start. You need to start in terms of communication basics. You need to start at just getting on stage. You don't need to be thinking about vocal variety and all these things. You don't need to be thinking about facial expressions and body language. You just need to get on stage, and you need to get on stage more often. You wouldn't know that because you've been watching all these videos and you haven't been getting on stage.
You're 100% right.
So you're working on the wrong thing. So what to work on is huge. Who you work with can oftentimes determine your trajectory. So you know where to go as well. And there's also now with your network, all these other opportunities that come about. So yeah, man, I'd always say if you can, get mentors in whatever you do, nice and early.
No, I don't know if you've seen this Joe Rogan episode where he brought on what's this gentleman's name?
He's brought on a lot of people.
Terrence Howard.
Oof, that mathematician dude, that crazy dude.
You see,
He's thick, but I like him. I like him.
So here's the thing, right? What happened was Joe got a lot of kickback from the audience in terms of the people that actually knew what they were talking about. And they were like, why didn't you call him out on his nonsense, right? Thing is, Terrence was throwing around a lot of nonsense, and it was best described by a science YouTuber I was watching, and it's like he lit so many small fires that it would take you so long to put each one out. By the time you're done putting one out, your whole view of the world has changed, and you're confused beyond recognition. And so what Joe did was he brought on a physicist by the name of Eric Weinstein. I think it's Eric. And this dude is the real deal. No jokes. Like, I have to watch, when he does episodes with Joe, I have to watch them a few times because he gets so technical and so, it's beautiful. It's beautiful listening to him speak about this stuff. And so he calmly, not dismantled, but corrected Terrence methodically. And one of the things that he pointed out as a good thing. He said that there's very few people that do what you do, Terrence. There's very few people that teach themselves. The issue with teaching yourself is you don't know exactly what you're getting yourself into, and you're mixing things, and you're ticking off the wrong people because you're not respecting the fields, and you're not seeing the complete picture. You are not educated enough to know to separate the wheat from the chaff. Because a lot of the times when people think about things, I think about it as a video. When I'm covering an event, I only use about 20% of the footage if I'm doing like a highlights video. The rest of it was just me trying to get the perfect shot. And so when it comes to thinking and ideas and stuff, a lot of your ideas are trash, let's be honest. Very few percentage actually makes it out through your mouth. Fewer percentage makes it out to a paper and is actually checked by your peers. And so that's what Eric was trying to point out. He was saying that you don't because you didn't have mentors at university, because you didn't go through this course,
Yeah.
you got something,
Yeah.
but unfortunately you're not sharpened
Yeah.
at all.
You're not sharpened.
He said, you're saying a something. There's something there. And what the other people around you are doing is they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm saying there's some baby there. But that's the problem, because he didn't have mentorship. It's just noise, and it just sounds incongruent, and it just doesn't make sense. You know?
He has bad taste.
Yes, yeah, you could say that. Yeah, to link it back what you said. Yeah, because he doesn't know what to take in. He
Yeah.
doesn't know what to pick.
He's just copying everything.
He's just copying everything. Yeah.
And taste is not easy. It's not all that easy. There is an art to taste even. It's not. That's why a good artist copies. To be a good artist, you have to be able to copy. You have to know what to
It's
copy.
because when you do copy, I think you start to learn what makes that artist think that way.
Exactly.
There's a game that I'm playing called Scorn. Have you heard of Scorn? See
Sounds
that
fun.
face you're making. That face you're making is like the face that it's like that. It's an off-putting game. It's like you're constantly cringing. Well, not cringing in a bad way. It's fantastic that a human being could think about concepts like this. So, are you familiar with a gentleman by the name of H.R. Giger?
No.
So he came up. He's an artist, passed away, that came up with the entire look and feel, or inspired the look and feel of Alien, the Alien
Like the
franchise, the look and feel. Yes.
Okay.
So if you look at his stuff, it's very much biomechanical sculptures with a sexual spin on it, almost investigating where we're going as humans and what drives us in terms of like our primordial urges and how that led us through this technological pathway, something like that. And Scorn is based on that. And so they constructed this game with all of these monuments. What you're essentially doing is there's no dialogue in the game. All the story is done through visuals and sound.
Sure.
It's a beautifully haunting game, but when you look at these sculptures, they're so perverted. Some of them are really perverted and they're degraded, and you want to know what's happening. And there's so many tortured characters. It's gruesome and
It came from a
brutal.
human's mind.
It came from a human's mind. That's what I'm saying. And so I researched H.R. Giger and I looked at his stuff. I didn't see what his personal life was, but I got hooked on the fact that this man came up with a look and feel for Alien. And I was like, it makes so much sense now, because it had to come from a human because it was so consistently inconsistent. It felt like it came from a place, someone's story, and they poured it out into a sculpture. And that's what those movies or at least the look of the movies and this game was. And I feel like so I read the book of the game because they made an art book, because I had to know what the hell is going on. I'll show you just the cover. It is so psychedelically trippy. And I had to know, and these guys were saying we tapped into certain elements from H.R. Giger and explored these elements, and I was enthralled, dude. I finished that book quick. I'm not into books. I was like, what in the world is? I got to play the game now. Beautiful. And so that's what you get from studying an artist. The thing is, that's why I didn't take art in high school. I just didn't care. I just want to draw. I just want to do my own thing. And I think in some ways, it freed my mind up from certain restrictions. It enabled me to be a multimedia person. Because if I went down certain artistic paths, I would have only thought one-dimensionally about certain things.
Yeah.
Whereas now where I'm at, I'm like, I've used 3D before. Let me use 3D there. I've used Unreal. Let me combine that with this. Whereas if I studied graphic design,
I might have boxed you in.
I would have only known Adobe. Whereas now, I know other softwares. I know other tools. But point being, that's starting an artist thing. There's something there. Stealing from that artist. There's something there because you learn from it.
But you have to know how to steal.
That's the thing. You can't just
Can't
steal
just steal.
because then you know better than AI. Because this is something I've been thinking about now. It's a tricky thing because I know it's a very hot topic now, right? The whole learning model, these AIs that take specifically in art, in order to learn, in order to be able to punch in a search query that says generates an image of a cat in a spacesuit, it would have had to have absorbed a lot of information pertaining to cats, space, and suits, right? And spacesuits. Fine. It's perfectly fine. Generate an image of a cat wearing a spacesuit in the style of Van Gogh or Van Gogh, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Okay, it had to have absorbed Van Gogh's paintings.
Yep.
And now the issue that's coming about is that a lot of artists, digital artists, are complaining that their artworks are being used to train these AI models without their permission. But now it raises a question. Don't we do that?
Yeah.
We just do it slower.
Yeah.
We do it one image at a time. So what's the problem? It's a genuine question.
I love it. Yeah.
Right. It's a genuine question because that's how originality is born. Through multiple pieces, put it together, and you add your spin. But maybe there's the trick. Does AI have its own spin? Okay, what do I mean by spin though? The way that I see it is you take, remember my analogy of a classic detective story, but you take and you apply your story from the Cape Flats onto it. Is that what people would see as okay if I took 10 of their images of space cats, put it together, but then I added like a little hat? Is that original now? Will you be okay now with that? Like, what is the AI not doing to separate my process from its process? What do you think of that?
That's a big one, dude. And it actually gets into an idea that I was thinking about even today. It gets back to the taste thing. I think, so I actually listened to a podcast with Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, the ChatGPT guy. And what ChatGPT and this podcast was specifically on writing, right? So it was the podcast was How I Write with David Perel. He's a big writer and he studies writers, has them on his podcast. So Sam Altman's also a writer of sorts, and they were chatting about how ChatGPT is affecting things. What I see ChatGPT being, or rather, me and my brother have chatted about this. What I see AI showing us is that we have to double down on what makes us human. Yeah, now it's about who has the best taste. That's really the thing that AI can't take it away. AI can't take away my taste. And my taste is the thing that's the thing that makes me a good artist. It's not being able to write a word, to construct a sentence. That AI can do that. You can see, ask ChatGPT to construct your sentence. But what's my taste? What do I see this idea appealing to a particular audience? What is the message that this thing is purporting? What are the various parts of this construction? Maybe AI made up the structure of the essay, but now I have to be the one to see, okay, no, that part needs to go here. It's all these things that are more human, they're more preferential, they're more... Do you have that thing it's not very scientific, it's more artistic?
Yes, the thing that you can't put a finger on it, but it's intentional. Was I listening to a video or listening to a podcast or something? But it was in game design where the talk was around procedural generation of assets and environments, game environments. So if you think about something like an old Western town, you got those dust things that fly, and you got your old carriage, rocks, dust, sand piles, houses, stuff like that. You can generate those procedurally, right? And I kind of, in my mind, imagined a world where some kid somewhere pulls up Unreal AI and types in there, generate sci-fi dystopian town. And they get it. And I compare that to something that an actual team of artists made. And I just imagine, for that moment, I think I was playing a game. I must have been playing a game. And I walked around. I was playing Mass Effect. And it's from the 2008 or something. So it's old. It's not it's not a high fidelity. And I was walking around outside while these thoughts were in my mind. And I stopped because I was running. I stopped and I looked. I tilted the camera down and I saw like a rock and a pile of nonsense in the corner. I was like, I played this game over years and I probably never looked at that. But an artist put that there. I love that. I love that an artist took the time to put it there at that angle. Because I know for a fact the artist would have put it there and tilted it just slightly for no reason.
Yeah.
Because he felt some type of way. Or she thought the flowers looked nicer this way. Or like the grass was like for no reason at all. I love that. I love knowing that a human's hand touched this piece of art. I do that with like I went to my sister's matric dance last week. Krugersdorp. It was like a small little farm type vibe lodge my mom found, and super nice people there. And my mom was showing me around the place because I arrived later because I was working, and there were these neat little knickknacks and paintings from God knows when. And then my mom said, "You can go order something at the bar. We'll be sitting this side." So I go there and I meet the lady that owns the place, co-owns. She owns it with her husband. I was like, "Yeah, there's some interesting stuff you have here. Like, I heard my mom said that you guys pick it up from auctions and stuff." She's like, "Yeah, no, my husband, he goes around everywhere and he picks up these old paintings and stuff." And she starts pointing them out. She said, "That one down there," and it had these two ships, painted ships. "That one down there we found under like a bag of cement and it was being thrown out. Turns out it was painted by an artist that passed away, but he painted in like the 1800s." And I looked at it and it looked nice, and I thought somebody took the time and, every stroke was made by their hand. That's so, it gives me goosebumps just
and then we're going to throw it away. It's funny.
I don't want to throw it away, right?
Yeah.
But it gives me goosebumps just thinking somebody crafted it. Somebody put time into a human that was compiled of various hundreds of thousands of small interactions and things happening to them and experiences that tilted their personality slightly in one way or another to eventually lead them to the point now where they hold that brush in their hand and have the choice to make the stroke either this way or that way. And they choose that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Breathtaking. Humans are breathtaking.
Walt Disney, you get me thinking about him. So when he was making Disneyland back in the
50s,
40s, the first Disneyland, one of the guys that were I think designing the place, like he had some stuff. And there was a huge project, huge infrastructurally capital intensive project. And the one guy said, "Hey, well, if we just take these leather straps for this specific thing," I forgot exactly what the thing was, but if we take these leather straps over here, and I'm trying to do that.
You're doing well.
We take these leather straps over here, we don't take the best quality ones, but we take these ones, then we can actually cut costs. And so Walt Disney looked at him. Cut cost. We want the best of the best because people are going to appreciate that. People are going to see that. People like you who see that there was a tilt in the rock. And although you don't register it consciously, the more each and every single time that you cut a corner and you take the soul away, you're going to have a husk of the thing that once was. You're gonna have Star Wars on Disney Plus. That's what you're gonna have.
That's what you're gonna.
That's what you're gonna have every single time that you stop putting in the human touch, the heart, the soul. And yeah, man, AI is just showing us more and more that if you don't got heart, you don't got soul.
I love the way you put it. It's making us double down on what makes us human. That's literally it.
That's
Like
it.
people are scared, and granted, like there's reason to be scared. I mean, when I first experienced ChatGPT, I asked it to give me 3 short stories.
Oof.
And it came up with something dope. I said, give me a short story that I can make on a budget, right? That I can shoot on a budget in one location. So you know what this thing tells me? You tell me what you think about this. I think it was lit, right? Okay. So here's what it tells me. It tells me, and I don't know if this is based on some movie. Okay, I'm ignorant to that, but here's what it says. It says, picture a crew of master thieves. Right? There's a bank that they're trying to get into, but it's high tech bank. Right? Got the latest tech in terms of protecting the money, vault, whatever. And so they plan to get in, right? They get in, but it turns out that on the other side, there's another group of master thieves that are also trying to get in, right? So they get in, they get into the vault, also get into the vault, right?
That's Spider-Man.
Now here's the thing. The vault locks, well, not the vault, but the bank locks down. And the alarms start ringing. All the cops in the area are on their way, but they're gonna take some time. So now they have like an hour to get their asses out. I thought that was a good idea.
That is.
I think that's a good starting point.
That's a great starting point. And I think
maybe that's the key now.
That's the thing.
Starting point.
I can already feel that we're not there yet. We're not, like, that's not the whole thing. That's not what you should be paid for as a story writer. That was just a little nyana shell-ish. I mean, there's a lot that we could change about the premise.
Perfectly fine, right? But what if it gets to the point where it does what gentleman's name is Joseph Campbell, that did the Hero with 1,000 Faces. What if it gets to the point where it does what Joseph Campbell did, and it takes stories like Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, puts it together, and can create a script from that?
I mean, it could.
The issue is, it won't do what you said, where it won't put that human spin on it. But what is human spin?
So, that's a very good question. I would say it is the life that you just gave this idea that ChatGPT posed. So, it's a story, cool, but it's actually about the story going through you, the human, with chaos and beauty, and being able to channel it in the form of writing, in the form of a game, whatever story. And a great question to ask yourself, if you're an artist out there, is in anything that you write, does this move someone? Does this give life? That's an important question, because I think more and more as I'm growing as an artist, I'm realizing I don't want to say anything that won't move you. And if it doesn't move you, ChatGPT could say it. At the end of the day. So it's the things. So your role is to give life. Only a human can be the filter to say this is life-giving or not. Only a human. Only a person can. ChatGPT can't say this gives life. And we can make lots of stuff that people consume, but we can't make a lot of stuff with life. that stuff it's not scalable.
And we're seeing that with the products that are being produced now as products for profit.
Yeah.
Your new Star Wars and your new Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel.
An interesting thing, what you mentioned was making a human feel something. That to you is an important thing, because anything else ChatGPT can do.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think about a story, the story that I just said, in terms of the two groups meeting each other and they have to get out, fantastic action premise. Fine, that's fine. It's not human though.
It's not
Okay?
human.
To make it human, you have to put something of yourself in there. The reason why
Yeah.
I say something of yourself is because it's a lot more relatable. Now, I watched this one TED talk once where it broke down the chemicals released in the body when certain stories are told and how to manipulate that in your storytelling.
You're gonna send me that list of TED Talks, bro.
I'll find them for you. I think I have a playlist somewhere. I'll find them for you.
Come.
But it was very interesting because he practically did it, right? So he was like, okay, this chemical gets released when you're sad. This chemical gets released when you're happy. Let me demonstrate. And then he sits down and you're engrossed in
crazy.
like 30 seconds. And then like there was one where he was like, this one is released when there's anticipation. And so he sits down, he tells a story and people are listening to the story. And then he says, and then nothing. And people are like, oh. And he says, there you go. That's anticipation. You see. And then, so now it makes me think, right? Sometime in the future, what if your AI could be like, okay, there's a cocktail of chemicals that need to be released in the scene. How can I create this cocktail in the mind of the viewer? These scenes create that. And so it'll figure out a way algorithmically to integrate that in there. Do you see that as a possibility?
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Eh,
No, for sure.
Okay, but here's the thing though. I don't think it's that simple though. I don't think you can just
I do hear you on that.
I think because it's kind of like combining, it's kind of like baking a cake. If I told the AI that it takes all these ingredients, the AI thinks, okay, then I mix it all and throw it in the oven. But wait, there's a process. You got to mix these ingredients first, then you got to mix those, and you got to be careful not to melt the butter because blah, 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 blah. And then you got to, then you create the end product.
Well,
so maybe
here's the thing about that. Maybe not baking a cake, but making a meal.
Right.
You can have a good tasting meal. But when it's made by mom, it's made with love.
There's certain things she does.
It's made with love. Certain things she does. She knows you don't like it with pepper, or she knows you just like with a little bit of salt. Or
we're touching on something. This is it. This is it. Because every story feels personal to the person watching it.
Boom.
Right. So maybe that's what it is then. You're right. You hit the nail on the head.
I feel like, so there's this other book called Storyworthy. There's this guy who's like the best storyteller in the world. He wins storytelling competitions, Matthew Dix, and he wrote a book called Storyworthy. I heard this on a podcast with him, and he mentioned how, so his philosophy around stories is that people will sometimes give too much detail. So this is more, I think, in telling a story as opposed to writing a story.
Right.
But people will give too much detail, and what that does is it doesn't leverage another person's imagination. When I say,
yes, this is in books especially.
Books is a great, books does it well. But when I say the room was in this specific color and there was this, when you paint the picture too vividly, like in a movie, you don't use the other person's imagination. You don't make it personal to them. When you say, I ran down to the kitchen, you're probably gonna see your kitchen.
There you go.
And that's the power of a little bit of vagueness, just enough. Mentioning things that are key to the story, not just painting pictures, but only adding elements that will serve a purpose, if that makes sense.
100%, dude. I've never been a person to read books, right? But in not university, high school, my English teacher, she's absolutely pivotal to my life and the way I see the world around me. And Some of my close friends from high school agree, and actually even my girlfriend, she's from that high school, she knows as well. And so she wanted us to read a particular, not very difficult book, but when we came with our set books, we had to choose our own set books, and she was like, no, not that. That's too simple. No. So I thought, Jules Verne? She was like, be careful of the revision, because if you go too far back, it gets very like old school, right? So if you're gonna find it, don't find a dumbed down version. If you're gonna go into Jules Verne, go, So I went far back. It was a difficult read because it was very old English, but also very technical. So the book that I was reading was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And I was so taken aback at how detailed the descriptions of the creatures and the environment was. But so much vagueness that I was there. I was under the water and I was experiencing everything. Till this day, that experience stuck with me. I'll never forget the way I felt when reading that book, because it was so personal. It was so, like, I felt that ship around me. I saw myself looking out of the glass into the abyss, and I saw these creatures of the dark, and I saw, as they were described, I saw it in front of you, but they were described in a way that didn't hinder my imagination. It fueled it.
Yeah.
As crazy as that is. He just knew how to put details in, And so that's why I'll never be the kind of person to say, games are better than everything. Games are better than movies. Movies are better than series. Books are trash. Never. Because the book can change your life. Dude. And I'm not just talking about self-help. I'm talking about that like a proper fiction book. It can put you in a world 1,000 million miles away, dude, and make you feel like you're sitting right here at home. It's an incredible thing. 100% what you're saying. And so I think there'll always be a place for a human to add that spin, because only a human can add that spin. You see, if we take that example of those bank robbers, they came in together, that's not a very human story. But if we say that maybe the leaders of those banks know each other, they're brothers. Something happened in the past.
Now we're getting into some human themes.
Now we're getting human themes.
Yeah.
One of them betrayed their father, and their father's in prison now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Crazy stuff,
yeah.
right? And so I don't know, man. Maybe there were pedestrians trapped inside the building. Now there's a kid there that's lost or something, and she runs into one of the groups. I don't know, some chaotic thing that touches on the heartstrings. I recently watched Coco. And Coco was yes. Holy crap. I don't even know if the words were right, but okay, dude.
I love that movie, dude.
Absolutely, bro. I have to stop myself from crying continuously, because it's so it's
beautiful.
It's relatable from an artist's perspective. It's relatable. I can, even if that didn't happen to you directly, you can see how that would hurt a child to watch somebody crush your dreams literally in the shape of your art, for your instrument of art in front of you. You can see how emotionally you can see how emotional a memory can make you. The idea of losing a memory equating to losing someone in the other world, that's such a deep thought. The idea of not knowing your father or your mother, like, these are such
the human things.
Alzheimer's, your grandmother.
Dog.
Bro, come on, man. Only a human can string all of that together into one art form and take her on a roller coaster of a ride. AI can make one or two scenes. I'll give it that. I don't think it'll get.
It can make parts of the scene. I don't think it'll ever make even a whole scene, because what's at the core? It's that soul. That's the thing. It's that little rock that was tilted that way. That's the core. AI can make the components.
They can make the rocks.
Make the rocks.
Yeah, dude. I think then it's just a perspective switch now in terms of how we see AI. We need to see it not as a competitor, but maybe as a tool.
Yeah.
That's my workplace has its own AI tool. They call it, well, they have their own name for it, but they are advertising it around as a tool. It's your second in command. Use it to draft documents. We're not saying finish the documents, but use it to draft the skeleton.
Yeah.
And thereafter go in and you make your changes because you're
add your
you're
touch.
You're still a professional.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
have to do your thing.
Remember me as I play my sad guitar. No, no.
Did you got a good voice, eh?
Thanks, bro. It's been a while since I've sang, eh?
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
So you did sing.
Remember me? Yeah, I was deputy head of choir, bro. Back in school.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, man. I actually wanted to be a musician, and then my parents said, "Hey, you need to eat first." No, look. I think it was all for the best as well. I think I'm not someone suited for showbiz. I think my mind is
Excuse me?
for showbiz.
Yeah.
Well, okay, let's put it like this. I'm more of an Oprah. I'm not Michael B. No, he's not a good one. I'm more of an Oprah. I'm not an Idris Elba. So Idris acts. Oprah owns the set of her show. And she owns one of the biggest top talk shows in the world, and that's where her stage is.
Okay.
So
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'll say that. I think that's more my vibe. I wanted to be an actor actually, specifically. So yeah, acting.
They say I'd like to do that. I'd like to do some acting because they say, I don't know where I heard this, and it resonated with me so much. Someone said that, I don't know why, when you go to script writing, to learn to script write, they often teach you about or story writing. They often teach you about cinematography and videography and the technical aspect. That's great. But acting should be a staple. And I think he went on to say that it should be a staple because you need to know what you want to see. You need to know what kind of emotions you're looking for. You need to know the kinds of responses you're looking to create. Because it resonated with me because at the earliest level, when I first started creating stories as a kid in primary school, when I drew the character with a smile, I smiled. Because I almost threw whatever, I almost reflected off of what I was drawing, to almost like a mental check to say, okay, yes, that's the kind of smile. Yes. And when they were angry, I got angry. I frowned. I was like,
Yeah.
because it flowed through me. That energy flowed through me. I was like, yeah, I feel what he's feeling. Till this day, dude. Till this day, I embody myself in these characters. When I try to construct these scenes, so much of the scene is built around just their movement and them looking, and it looks so strange if you were to come into my room during one of these sessions, because all I'm doing is brooding. It looks so strange. I'm looking at walls, but it's because I'm seeing everything else. And when I stop and look back, I'm actually acting it out. And I found it so strange because maybe there's something to that you need to learn to act, or at least some elements of acting, to tell a story if it's human-centric. Maybe there's something there.
I do hear you on that. I think what comes to my mind, so today even, the person I was interviewing was asking me look, how do you do you actually like to just talk to people wherever you go? Because she really enjoyed the interview. She felt like I had that magnetism. And I was like, I thought about it. I was like, it's because we are mirrors. That's who we are as people. So when you were writing onto the page that face, that smiley face, and you smiled yourself, there was a canvas is the ultimate mirror in ways, because especially if you can express yourself on the canvas. And that's why it's so beautiful, because this thing of taking something that seems foreign and putting it into a place for other people to see, like taking anger and putting it on a page. Like you know this idea, this thing called synesthesia.
Sounds familiar.
It's like, I don't know if it's a mental disease, but it's where basically someone can, I'm sure Billie Eilish has it, I think, taste green. They can
Interesting.
hear, they can see loud. You know, they can see different senses. That thing is so beautiful. And we are mirrors onto the page. We're mirrors onto the canvas. We're mirrors onto other people. And I feel like that quality of us, of us being mirrors, that's it's very artistic, it's very human.
It's almost like we have to, before we put it out into the world in some form of art, we have to channel it through ourselves first. Some sort of focus mechanism, like it. I don't know how to put it, but it's when you say mirror, do you mean like maybe it's reflected back upon us? So if I write a piece and it, let's say Coco, let's say I wrote that scene. He tries to sing Remember Me to his grandmother to inspire the memories of his father, right? The kid is crying at that point, and I start crying too. But that's almost like a byproduct of me writing that scene, because it's triggering emotions in me. So why is it so intuitive to act out something when we are making it? If we were to go on what I said, my premise being, this guy says that acting should be a staple in screenwriting.
I think it's because it's just it's because the ultimate expression is an expression through a human, through a person. I feel like as a screenwriter, you create the environment for the people to enter into it. You create the environment to tell the story of someone. And yeah, when I was with that lady, I realized I was my own actor. Wherever I go, I'm my own actor. And she was like, how do you like, so how are you social? I enter a room and I tell myself I'm excited, and that hypnotizes me, and I become excited, and that energy becomes magnetic to others. So what I actually did is I was a screenwriter of this interaction between you and I. That's what I was, essentially. And I feel like acting as a staple is just saying, understanding that there's a person in this equation that's going to be there, that has to evoke the human emotion, be that relatable human being. Understanding that that's the core, I feel like is always, it's a constant. Like you always have a person
in the equation. Maybe that's why it's so important to actually put yourself in the shoes of the thing that you're writing. And in the case of movies, it's the actor, it's the character itself. And that's why you should try and act it out, because you also get a better understanding of what it is to be that character. I'm not saying if you're writing a murderer, go murder. I'm saying, like, how do they sit? How do they look at other people? What do they see when they look in the mirror? When you sit there in front of that mirror and you look at yourself in your eye, you're like, shit, maybe they don't see anything. Maybe I need to put that in. Maybe I need to put it in that they just look past their reflection. So they don't even see anything.
You need to practice looking through people to become that person.
It gives you a better image of what you're writing. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe it is.
Either way, I'd like to explore that at some point. It's been like a mini thought at the back of my head, like maybe I should try it. I think it would be fun.
Like look at like some of these method actors.
Oh
Like
goodness.
look at Heath Ledger, man.
Yes.
Goodness gracious. You know, rest in
Rest
peace,
in peace,
man.
rest in
But
peace.
the things he did, goodness gracious. You know, that we can learn a thing or two about immersion from
Dude,
him.
didn't the homie that played Alfred? Yeah, apparently he had dialogue that he had to say during the scene where the Joker pitched up to that party in the Dark Knight. The was it the Dark Knight? What's the sub?
I don't remember them, unfortunately.
Bro, you gotta watch them again.
I do need to watch
Dude,
them
you gotta
again.
watch them again. It's like a tradition for us, my sister, my friends, like every year.
Every year.
Every year. Bro, every year, if you watch it every year, you'll find something new. That's how rich these things are.
That's amazing, dude.
But in any case, dude,
Yeah.
we've gone far.
Yeah, a bit too far.
I don't know if there's such a thing as too far, bro.
Look, there is. Like I mean, there is, man.
I don't know, man.
Is
With
it-
with the things we're talking, I think it's fun.
No,
I
we
think,
went well.
I think it's so much fun just digging and bouncing around because you come up, like you said, there's a lot of trash, but once you sift through it, you find some genuine thoughts. Like once we watch this back, there is an actual thread that we were following somehow, somewhere.
I'm sure, dude.
And I think it's centered around humanity,
Yeah.
what it is to be human, and how that links to art.
Yeah, we went hard on art,
Yeah, dude.
which was fun, dude.
But it's been when's the last time I saw you? It's been forever, dude.
Bro.
The last time I saw you was on campus, wasn't it?
Either campus or last year November. No, it wasn't campus. It wasn't that far.
But still looking fresh, dude. Still on
Yeah.
your CA path, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, for anyone watching, watching or listening, you gotta check out this man's podcast. The Road to CA
The road to CA, bro.
on Spotify and where else?
And Apple Music.
And Apple Music.
And Apple Music.
Yeah. The reason why I'd recommend it is because it's not just a CA situation, it's also entrepreneur business, your own mind situation going on there. You'll find something. I found it rich with content.
Thanks,
So
man.
yeah, no. Keep going.
It's currently still like directed towards students, but I know a lot of the topics are bigger than that. It's just
And it's gonna grow with you as well. It's gonna change with you. That's one of the fun things about doing this. I get to see how my outlook on life changes. You know, how my opinions change depending on who comes in and how I react to situations and the development of it. My uncle pointed that out. So I think it's fun, dude. A lot of people they are scared to do that, to get in front, because they're like, I'll say something. That's what it's like, dude. I believe what I believe in the moment. Later on, if I make a mistake, correct it. It's no biggie. You know.
And I don't think we're trying to just give useful thoughts. I don't think
We're trying to provoke thought. That's what we're
Yeah.
trying to do through our
Yeah.
experiences. I just love asking questions, bro. Even if they don't have answers, I just find it fun to ask questions. But yeah, no, dude. Thanks for coming, man. Thanks for making the time. Much appreciated. Hopefully, you come through for another episode in future.
Yeah, brother. I'll wait.
Good luck, dude. Till next time.